A border sovereign is the occult force, a threshold guardian of the earth scenes beyond. She has canalized the outbreaks of the gods and cut through vistas of intuitive sight a long road of shimmering discoveries. The worlds of a marvellous unknown were near. Behind her an ineffable presence stood. Her reign received their mystic influences. Their lion forces crouched beneath her feet. The future sleeps unknown behind their doors. Abysms infernal gaped round the soul's steps, and called to its mounting vision peaks divine. An endless climb and adventure of the idea there tirelessly tempted the explorer mind, and countless voices visited the charmed ear. A million figures passed and were seen no more. This was a forefront of God's thousandfold house, beginnings of the half-screened invisible. A magic porch of entry, glimmering, quivered in a penumbra of screened light. A court of the mystical traffic of the worlds, a balcony and miraculous facade. Above her lightened high immensities. All the unknown looked out from boundlessness. It lodged upon an edge of hourless time, gazing out of some everlasting now, its shadows gleaming with the birth of gods, its bodies signaling the bodiless, its foreheads glowing with the oversoul, its forms projected from the unknowable, its eyes dreaming of the ineffable, its faces staring into eternity. Life in him learned its huge subconscient rear. The little fronts unlocked to the unseen vasts. Her gulfs stood nude. Her far transcendences flamed in transparencies of crowded light. A giant order was discovered here, of which the tassel and extended fringe are the scant stuff of our material lives.
So welcome everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, Monica. I have a lot of background noise today.
You have background noise?
Yeah, here, some festival is going on. So
Okay,
lot sound, yeah.
no problem. Fine. So today we are going to pick up the threads from page number, I think 87, 86. Just a second. Yes, 87. So here we were reading how Ashwapati is kind of having all these experiences, realizations, and he's becoming aware of something which in our ordinary consciousness we are not aware of. So, like the design behind the appearances, he's becoming aware of those designs one by one. And there is no limit to those designs behind the appearances, because the more you go deeper, the more you see more. And there is no end to that seeing. It can be always more and more and more. Since the divine is infinite, the creator and the creation is infinite, so we see that this discovery also is a kind of a revelatory, step by step, step by step. And in our practical lives, if we see, seems like never ending. It's just like a continuous discovery. And also, if there are realizations, they are also continuous successive realizations. Like we can't say that, okay, now it's done, all over. That state is maybe uh, not really very close in sight. So we were reading about that secret nature who is being now revealed to Ashwapati's sight, inner vision, or it is subtle sight that he is now having. And now that secret nature is at his service. So far as we are living in ignorance, we think of ourselves being a puppet of all the events and happenings and circumstances and forces of life. And that is what who we are. But as we grow in stature, the spirit and the soul, they come, the soul comes out in front and gains command of nature. Then we see that actually the nature is there so that it can be at the disposal of the spirit. That's the purpose of nature. The purpose of nature is not to just sway around us like a puppet, but as we grow in our realizations and consciousness, the true purpose of the nature and its forces or prakriti is to be actually tamed by the uh, soul consciousness and to be serving the soul consciousness. So that is where we were just like kind of reading, coming to the end of that section. Uh, yeah, we were coming to the end of this section where now Ashwapati becomes the king, as if, and the nature is now his servant at his disposal. So today we can take newer lines starting from here. This section is ending here, but then it continues further again, talking about that occult force or this secret nature. So if anyone would like to read these lines in pink to end the section that we were continuing to read, please go ahead. Okay, so I can go ahead if anyone can't read. A greater despot tamed her despotism, assailed, surprised in the fortress of herself, conquered by her own unexpected king, fulfilled and ransomed by her servitude. She yielded in a vanquished ecstasy, her sealed hermetic wisdom forced from her, fragments of the mystery of omnipotence. This secret nature, this occult nature, that we were reading about, who does anything at her own whim and fancy and has no rules and regulations, makes her own rules and regulations, and then claims that it is a law. We were reading about all that. Now she has something in front of her who is even more powerful, and a despot. A despot is where we use as if a person or a king who would do just as he would like. So he would just do whatever comes to his mind. And here, earlier we were reading that nature, secret nature is like that, and now we read that now she is in hands of a person or a being who is even a greater despot than her. So a greater despot tamed her despotism. And with this we also can see that, when there are children, naughty children, there are degrees of naughty children. Even adults, mischievous, or adults who have lots of cleverness. So a very very clever adult can be actually tamed only by extremely clever adult. An adult will be very very extremely clever so that he can tame the so called clever adult below them. So here, that's what one gets an image, that a greater despot tamed her despotism. Assailed, surprised in the fortress of herself. Now she's surprised that how is it possible that me, I am tamed by somebody, conquered by her own unexpected king. And here, Shraddhavan was sharing that the example of Chitrangada in Hindu mythology we have, where Arjun is conquering, one place after the another, and he goes into this kingdom where there is actually Chitrangada who is the ruler. She is the queen there and ruling this place, and she is also kind of taken away by him. She then surrenders to him, and the whole kingdom is now belongs to Arjun, and Chitrangada also surrenders completely all her powers and forces, everything to Arjuna. So, like that, she was remembering that it gives that kind of an image. Conquered by her own unexpected king, fulfilled and ransomed by her servitude. So, she's not becoming a slave now. She's actually becoming liberated from her own despotism, because her true purpose is to serve the soul consciousness. So now, when the soul consciousness is ready to kind of rule Prakriti or nature, then she, although she is reluctant in the beginning because she is not used to be ruled, but then very gladly she surrenders, and ransomed means she is freed. So by serving the true king, the soul consciousness, she is actually fulfilled and freed. She can relax now that she is in safe hands. And this also reminds me of, that how we, as we grow in our consciousness, and how we live very narrow constricted lives in our ordinary consciousness, but when we more and more surrender ourselves to the divine and live only for the divine, like a slave to the divine, actually that is also our fulfillment. So in slavery, in true slavery to our true king, which is the divine, is our freedom. And oftentimes I use this example that imagine that you have, you are a thief, and from somewhere you have got a very precious watch. Now you have stolen it from some place, but you have no idea what all these buttons are doing. What, like there are several complicated buttons, and you have no idea what is each button doing. Now that treasure or that watch is of no true good use to me because I don't know how to use it. But the true owner of that watch knows from whose room I have stolen that watch. So I see it like that, that when we totally give ourselves to the divine, then he can make use of all these buttons and little instruments and pieces and parts, because we ourselves, if we try to possess our lives and, oh, this me and let me live how I want to live, so if we make our lives too narrow and constricted, we see that we don't have a fulfillment in that kind of a life. Our true fulfillment comes only when we are totally given to the divine, because we don't know how to use the instrument. He knows how to use the instrument. And so here, what we were reading, that also gave me a reflection of that fulfilled and ransomed by her servitude. She is free by becoming a true slave to this king. She is free of her own bondage. She yielded in a vanquished ecstasy. There is also a kind of a certain joy that is there. Her sealed hermetic wisdom forced from her fragments of the mystery of omnipotence. So she also has this wisdom in her, which is kind of taken away now, from her, because she would be now ruled, and which, although that wisdom has also fragments of omnipotence, all powerfulness, all that she had used so far, but now all of that she is giving and surrendering, which will be used by this more conscious soul consciousness. And then in the coming section, we have further into this occult force, that what is it doing, and what Ashwapati can see now, which was not earlier seen. So this is a small section that continues after that. I hope we'll be able to today take it up all. Yeah. So anything here, anyone? Yeah, so then we can go ahead, read new lines in yellow, if anyone feels like.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So, a border sovereign is the occult force, a threshold guardian of the earth scenes beyond. She has canalized the outbreaks of the gods and cut through vistas of intuitive sight, a long road of shimmering discoveries.
Thank you. So this particular section that we have been reading for quite many sessions now, on secret nature and forces, and something which now Ashwapati is becoming kind of aware of or can see, or which he is becoming now a king of. I have to say that it's a quite, I would say it's a little bit complicated than other sections that we have seen so far, because at times we wonder that what do I do with this now? Now that I have read it, what do I do? How do I make use of it? But it is for us to know that as we grow in our own inner consciousness and higher, maybe have practical realizations in us, and further grow in our consciousness, then all these are our possibilities. But the life that we live is so narrow and constricted and lost in the trivial of the daily life, that we are not aware that these are our possibilities. So I think it is a good window for us, that what all is possible and where are we lost. Because we are lost from time to time in our daily life. We see 24/7, 24 hours in a day. Where are we lost? Where is our practice, the 24 hours of a day? Because so much is there which is waiting, and yet it is like a whole life lived of 50, 60, 70, 80 years, and nothing really inward consciously happens, because time to time there is some glitter outside, and we get so lost in the outer world that we forget that there is something that we have to fulfill. So for me, I think these complicated words of the section of this secret nature, and how Ashwapati is discovering about the secret nature, and the secret nature yielding now to Ashwapati, that okay, you are my king, you rule me. It tells us our possibilities, our powers that are hiding within us. But if only we have the time and priority to give it attention. So a border sovereign is the occult force. So this force, this secret nature that we were reading about, it is like on the border. It is a kind of a supervisor of a border of what we can see and sense, and then those domains which we cannot see and sense that much. Between those realms which are intangible or say, formless to our grosser senses. And then there is this material world which appears more real to me. This secret nature is standing on the border of form and formless realms, a threshold guardian of the earth scenes beyond. Now, for what we have in our day-to-day life is the earth scene. It's like, okay, ये मैं touch कर सकती हूँ, feel कर सकती हूँ, उसने मेरे को ये बोला, मैंने उसको ये बोला. All these things are palpable through our grosser senses. And this is our world. But that is not it. She is the one which is guarding as if on the border of the scenes of beyond. There is something beyond this earth scene also. She is the one who is guarding it. She has canalized the outbreaks of the gods and cut through vistas of intuitive sight, a long road of shimmering discoveries. So as if she is kind of a thin veil, and when we become in touch with her, this occult force, then we realize that, oh my God, there are so many different possibilities actually which we were not aware of. What kind of a life we were living. And that is why masters and mystics have said that actually we are sleeping. We think that we are in waking consciousness, but the more we remain in our grosser senses, it's like a sleep, because we are unaware of the worlds which are beyond our grosser senses. So she is the one who from beyond, when gods kind of कोई झरोखे से देख रहा है और अपनी powers pass कर रहा है in the matter domain, then she is the one who channelizes. It's like, she brings it to this material world from the world of beyond. She is the one. She is the kind of a mediator. We earlier read a mediatrix. And cut through vistas of intuitive sight. So vistas is like, far, far, far you can go and there is no end to that. A long road of shimmering discoveries. So she is the one who is kind of opening our sight that what all is possible. Like shimmer is like glitter, like something is shining from far away. Like when we go on roads, then from far away we can see sometimes when on a hotter day, we can see mirage, shining on that long road which is very heated up. So she is the one which is now standing on this border, and through her we can see what all is possible and what all is still hidden, and yet one can mildly become aware of it. A long road of shimmering discoveries, as if waiting for us, those discoveries. Yeah. Anyone who'd like to read next? Okay, so if not anyone, I'll go ahead. The worlds of a marvellous unknown were near. Behind her, an ineffable presence stood. Her reins received their mystic influences, their lion forces crouched beneath her feet. The future sleeps unknown behind their doors. So now one can see that actually unknown, marvelous worlds are very close. Now, when we go to temples, we see that there is always a curtain. In front of the deity, they don't have directly the deity in front. They always either have a curtain or they will have lots of little doors, and then the deity is kind of thrown deep inside the cave. So now behind this curtain of this occult force, the worlds of a marvelous unknown were near. And worlds, not one world, but worlds which are unknown to us. Behind her, an ineffable presence stood. So just like there is a curtain, and then behind the curtain there is the deity in a temple. There was this presence that was felt, that behind her there is something very powerful. There is a presence which one can sense. Behind her an ineffable presence stood. Her reign received their mystic influences. And the influences from behind the curtain are actually being received. Her reign received their mystic influences from these worlds, which are marvelous worlds, unknown worlds, which are behind this curtain, but their influences are received. This is what we say, that we are moved by so many forces. We have no idea of how many forces are moving us. But these are all acting behind the veil. So many a times we say a word which we have no idea why did I say that word, but we say it. So there are some forces, there are some mystic influences working, of which we are unaware, but we are receiving their influences. Like if there is a curtain, no matter if the curtain may be thick, but the curtain receives the heat from the sun. It is not untouched from the warmth of the sun or some light or something. There is an impression of the sun which is shining outside, and then there is a curtain, but the curtain receives that warmth, the curtain receives that light. So the mystic influences of these worlds of marvelous unknown were received. Her reign received these mystic influences. Their lion forces crouched beneath her feet. So this occult force, the secret nature that is there, and now we can remember the photo, the picture of Durga Ma, and the tiger is beneath her feet. She is riding a tiger, and the tiger is a slave. Tiger is at her service. He cannot do anything which she does not want. So all these lion forces, the powerful forces of these mystic worlds, they are kind of at the mercy of this occult force. Their lion forces crouched beneath her feet. The future sleeps unknown behind their doors. So these curtains that are there, which hide these marvelous worlds, there is a future that is sleeping. And that is where we have this compilation where, Mother's and Sri Aurobindo's words, I think by A.S. Dalalji only, the powers within. In their Mother shares, and again Sri Aurobindo also, many powers that we have. We actually misuse those powers. Mostly we are misusing. All of us are aware how we are misusing the power of our thought. All the time we are misusing. And if thought can generate an illness in the physical body, we can actually imagine how much power a thought will have. Because we now know that most of the diseases and illnesses are psychosomatic in nature. They are somatic, their body, but a lot of psyche influence is there, psychological influence is there. And that is how we generate them. So if I can change the stuff of my body, which is so hard and rigid, and generate an illness in it, and that owing to my wrong habits of thoughts and feelings, just imagine how much power we can have if we reverse that process. And it's a very long and arduous process, because those of us who are working on our thought patterns and feeling patterns, we will know that again and again we slip. So to constantly keep an upward climb is what requires a lot of effort and lots of opening to Mother's force, divine force, that please give me courage, please give me strength. I'm not able to manage. Something again and again pulls us down, again and again pulls us down. And that is why Sri Aurobindo says, a long dim preparation is man's life. A circle of hope and toil and rise and fall. Again and again we continue doing that for a very, 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 very long time. Unless there is a irreversible change. Now, what is an irreversible change? It's very interesting. Now, we actually keep swinging like a pendulum. We have highs, then we have lows, then we have again a high, then again a low, high and low, and high and low, and this is how we continue. Frustration or excitement, frustration, excitement, like that we go on. But there comes a time when, through our effort, dedication, and lots of grace, something in us radically changes in a way that now it cannot make a U-turn. And masters have said, likened it to, say, uh, there is a wood. Now, if you burn the wood, there comes a point, a tipping point, where it becomes ash. Now, ash cannot become wood again, can it? Ash cannot become wood again. It means a practical realization has happened. Now it cannot be undone. And in Upanishadic stories, we have this story of seeing a rope as a snake. So if we are looking from far away and there is something like coiled lying on the floor, if I'm seeing in ignorance, then it appears that, oh my God, it's a snake, I have to be afraid of it. But if I look with the sight of wisdom, if I go closer and investigate and inquire and have a realization that yes, it is not a snake, oh, it's a rope. Now, once if I have truly seen the rope as a rope, next time when I see the rope or something coiled, it cannot fool me that it is a snake. The very fact that it keeps fooling me that it is a snake when it is actually a rope means that my realization is not complete, it's only a mental realization. है ना? तो अभी समझ में आना शुरू हुआ है, बट पूरी तरह से बॉडी में उतरा नहीं है वो. It has not become me. And when something becomes us, then it is impossible to take a U-turn. Then that pendulum movement is not needed anymore. So we see ourselves that we think that, oh, now I have understood, desire is really rubbish. I don't need to desire. It takes us so much, gives us so much of misery, and these expectations and demands, they are really harmful for me. It makes me suffer. Now you will see that right now you may be realizing it, but very soon comes a time that we have again an expectation or demand or a desire, and again we are in the grip of it. Again we are being stubborn that this should be fulfilled. So if I have gone back to those spirals again and again, it just tells me that my realization is not complete. And Kabirji uses a couplet where he says, Lakdi jal koila bani, koila jal bhayo hai raak, मैं अभागन यूं जली ना कोयला बनी ना राख. So that is our state. We are adh paka khana. Not really palpable. Like उसका क्या करें हम? ना इधर के हैं ना उधर के हैं पूरे. So for a long time our state remains like that. ना इधर के हैं ना उधर के हैं, ना उधर के हैं ना इधर के हैं. लेकिन होता क्या है? Life experiences give us such blows and happenings happen in our life that we are now compelled to make it a concrete realization. Because it is enough of pain, enough of suffering, or again a cycle keeps repeating. Again with same person you have similar kind of interactions, and you think to yourself that what is really happening? That again and again I see myself repeating myself, and same mistakes, similar errors are repeating itself. So when we become too much disgusted with ourselves and frustrated, in one sense, it is a good thing, discontent. Then we actually become very motivated that now this is enough and I need a change, a radical change in myself, that I'm not the same being anymore. Because if I remain the same being, then the same experiences will keep returning to me. So a radical shift has to be there. And my repetition of experiences tells me that, the radical shift so far has not happened. That's why those loopy experiences or loopy kind of desires and expectations kind of, keep on coming again and again and again and again. And I have seen that it gives me a lot of motivation when there is a repetition of events which are miserable and make me suffer. Then actually if I wonder about it, I take the responsibility on me that I have not changed. There is something in me which is answering to those triggers again and again. And as long as those answers in me to those triggers are there, those triggers will also be there. I don't know how I reached here from where we were. Yes. Yeah, I was talking about the powers lying hidden in us and how we keep ourselves busy with the trivia all the time while a major time of our life is just passing by, passing by, passing by. Yeah, so anything here? Anyone? Okay, so we go ahead then in that case. So then what more is here? Yes, Charuji?
No, I can read now.
Yes, please
The
go ahead.
sound is, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Abysms infernal gaped round the soul's steps and called to its mounting vision peaks divine. An endless climb and adventure of the idea, there tirelessly tempted the explorer mind, and countless voices visited the charmed ear. A million figures passed and were seen no more. Monica, I'll read one more time.
Okay, sure.
Abysms infernal gaped round the soul's steps and called to its mounting vision peaks divine. An endless climb and adventure of the idea there tirelessly tempted the explorer mind, and countless voices visited the charmed ear. A million figures passed and were seen no more. Thank you.
Thank you. So those of us who have seen these movies like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or these kind of fantastical movies, there we see that many a times like there is a group of warriors going, like in Lord of the Rings they are going to that put that ring back into that whatever the last fire, and on the way they have a very treacherous path, and at times the path is like if you look below then there is like a hellish fire going on and you can fall down and then you are gone. But then there are wiser powers who even if they fall into those infernal kind of abysms, they are rescued somehow, they are saved in some or the other form they are saved. So these lines remind me of those visual imagery of those Lord of the Rings type of movies. Abysms infernal. So infernal means very hell-like, like full of fire, and that if it just takes you in, then you're gone. Abysm is something which is bottomless, which does not have any end. So abysms infernal gaped round the soul's steps. So when the soul is progressing in this journey, it is not all a hunky-dory process that all good, 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 good. There are intermediate zones in which we can fall. Sri Aurobindo and Mother talk about that at times, if we kind of stray away from the protection of divine, there are anti-divine forces, and these kind of hellish traps are there where we can get sucked. They're also called intermediate zones. So abysms infernal gaped round the soul's steps and called to its mounting vision peaks divine. Now there are also not only these kind of hellish traps, but there are also peaks divine, like as if one will be able to climb to a beautiful place, and called to its mounting vision peaks divine, an endless climb and adventure of the idea. Now idea with a capital I, we see Sri Aurobindo referring to many a times in Savitri also, and at other places he describes that it belongs to the highest most, like here for a supermind. Supermind is the domain of ideas, true ideas, from where when our mind is ready and receptive, it can actually receive those ideas. And that is how many things in science also, geniuses, how they receive these ideas and make new scientific discoveries, for example. So an endless climb, endless climb. So there are peaks after peaks, and there is no end to those discoveries that we can make. An endless climb and adventure of the idea there tirelessly tempted the explorer mind. You know, that, oh, abhi aur bhi hai, abhi aur bhi hai, abhi aur bhi hai, you know. Like that, there is a temptation for the mind which is exploring. And countless voices visited the charmed ear. A million figures passed and were seen no more. So these are all experiences of subtle sight and sense. You know, that there are images that are coming, and again this takes me into the world of these fantastical movies where you have, you know, these images coming to you from time to time, to which at times you get attracted and at times you have to save yourself. So his sight is becoming that subtle that it can become available to all these countless voices and millions figures. And now it shares what is this, you know, that he's seeing, what exactly he's seeing. Yes. So let us go ahead. If anyone can read, it would be nice. We'll just finish this section today, not much. Yeah.
I'll read. A, a magic porch of entry glimmering, quivered in a penumbra of screened light, a court of the mystical traffic of the world, a balcony and miraculous facade.
Thank you. There were 2 lines above as well, which I can read.
Can I read it again?
Yes, yes. So these 2 lines above also you can read.
Yes. This was the forefront of God's thousandfold house, beginnings of the half-screened invisible, a magic porch of entry glimmering, quivered in a penumbra of screened light, a court of the mystical traffic of the world, a balcony and miraculous facade.
Yeah, thank you. So this that he is seeing in front of him right now, all these you know, abysmal, infernal gapes and gaps, and then peaks divine and endless peaks. He's kind of getting a view of that. This, he says, this was a forefront of God's thousandfold house. So when we have temples in India, especially South India, we have these, you know, we have many smaller kind of areas first, and then in the middle there is the main temple. You know, I don't exactly know what is the exact word for that, but that is how they are designed. So this that he is seeing right now is a forefront. It's just that front part of God's thousandfold house, beginnings of the half screened invisible. So half screened, why? Because अभी क्या है, पहले full screen होती है, लेकिन अभी right now we see that uh, mandapam, yeah, quite possible, yes. So this frontal parts he is able to kind of see and witness, and that is only the beginning of the half screened invisible. है ना? तो जैसे हम मंदिरों में जाते हैं तो पहले छोटी छोटी जो इधर उधर लेफ्ट राइट पे जो भी होते हैं वो चीजें देखते हैं, देखते जाते हैं, देखते जाते हैं, देखते जाते हैं. इन साउथ इंडिया वी हैव टेम्पल्स लाइक दैट, एंड देन we become closer and closer and closer to the deity. So beginnings of the half screened invisible. Now it is half screened, not fully screened, because a lot of thick screens have been taken down. A magic porch of entry glimmering, quivered in a penumbra of screened light. So still the light is screened. It's like a twilightish light. It is screened. It's not fully like in its full glamour. A magic porch of entry. So all these experiences that he's having, it's like a magic porch of entry, glimmering quivered in a penumbra of screen light. So imagine that you have a curtain, like, which is not very thick, and behind that is very strong light. So that curtain is screening that light. It's a screen light that is coming out of that curtain. But it is showing something of the beyond also, because it's like a thin curtain, it's not a thick curtain. A court of the mystical traffic of the worlds, a balcony and miraculous facade. So in this facade terms also, if I remember, if some of us have gone to Europe and seen those like big, maybe like Vatican City, or maybe these big palaces like that, you see that in the middle there is a fountain and lots of open area, and then there is an entry to that main fort, and inside you can go. So it's like that court, it's like that open space, this space that he's in right now and experiencing, a court of the mystical traffic of the worlds. Lots of forces and powers are interacting there, but it is just the frontal part, it is not those words. A balcony and miraculous facade, and facade is usually the front part of any palace or any building, that which is visible from outside, and even that is miraculous. It has magic there, full of miracles. तो उसके पीछे क्या होगा अगर ये फसाड ऐसा है, full of all these glimmers and glimmering and shining of light and all these miraculous facade, that is the front part. So उसके पीछे जो होगा वो और भी सुंदर होगा. तो अभी तो हमको सिर्फ यहाँ तक एंट्री मिली है राष्ट्रपति को. So again, as I just remind myself that these are all our possibilities, and it may at times feel that, oh, this is too unfathomable and why am I reading these lines? But we have to see that this is all is screened from us when we are too lost in our day-to-day trivial life. हम ऐसी चीज़ों को इम्पोर्टेंट बना देते हैं जिसमें इतनी इम्पोर्टेंस होती नहीं है, और उसमें इतना टाइम चला जाता है हमारा कि एक्चुअली में पता ही नहीं लगता कैसे जीवन आया और ख़त्म हो गया. So just to remind ourselves that there are so many things waiting for us to be revealed behind our grosser senses. So we will just take these last few lines up, maybe at once we can take, and then we end today's session after this section. So if anyone can read the whole section in yellow, the whole part in yellow.
Yeah, I can read. The whole section in yellow, right?
Yes.
Okay. Above her lightened high immensities, all the unknown looked out from boundlessnesses. It lodged upon an edge of hourless time, gazing out of some everlasting now. Its shadows gleaming with the birth of gods, its bodies signaling the bodiless, its foreheads glowing with the oversoul, its forms projected from the unknowable, its eyes dreaming of the ineffable, its faces staring into eternity. Life in him learned its huge subconscient rear. The little fronts unlocked to the unseen vasts. Her gulfs stood nude, her far transcendences flamed in transparencies of crowded light.
Thank you. So above her referring to the occult force, lightened high immensities. Like lightened means like it's fading. When you look at something which is far away from you or very above you, you see that the more you go up and you're looking at it, it will kind of fade. So high that it will fade. like we have these skyrocketing buildings, the more they go, what do they call, skyscrapers, they go much into the sky and then we see them fading, like you can't see clearly. So above her lightened, kind of fading high immensities, all the unknown looked out from boundlessness, and as if that unknown from above is looking out from that boundlessness above and looking down, below on this grosser world where we are. It lodged upon an edge of hourless time. So those above are as if it's lodges, like here and there, things from unknown or boundlessness are staring down below, like mother looked from the balcony down below, people standing below her. So like that, as if, someone is peeping down and looking at the grosser world. So all the unknown looked out from boundlessness. It lodged upon an edge of hourless time, gazing out of some everlasting now. Now this is very mystical. I don't know what exactly, but this is something which is very interesting to reflect upon. Usually, if we hear some masters and mystics saying, we have an appearance that there is time. And why do we have an appearance that there is time? Because then अभी तो सुबह तो morning थी, अब एकदम से afternoon हो गई, then रात हो गई. So we feel that there is a time which is passing by. But many masters and mystics who talk about being in the present moment, they say that just look at this word, everlasting now. They say that there is always a now going on. And it is not that there is first this now and then the next batch of now and the next batch of now. No. There is always just a now. And if we reflect upon it, it is so true that all that we have is the present moment all the time, as if we are glued to the present moment. Can we ever not be in the present moment? Think about it. Even when we say that I am lost in my thoughts, and we usually use it like, oh, I am lost in my thought, I am not in the present moment. Although, in another relative terms, it is true. But actually, where am I lost in the thoughts? In the present moment only. I can't be lost in my thoughts in the future. So I'm doing everything in the now. So that is why an everlasting now, because there is no limit to that now. It's not like, okay, cut, now this now is over. Now the next now is going on. It's not like that. It's not in cut and pieces. It's just one everlasting now, which is the present. And all that we have is the present. Every time we have just the present. Even when I'm panicking about the future, I'm doing it in the present moment. When I'm worrying about the past, I'm doing it in the present moment. I can't worry about my past in a future moment. That I will do, but when I will be doing it, then it will be the present moment. So it's very interesting that how the intriguing this is, that there is always this everlasting now, and there is actually nothing else in that sense. So this kind of all the unknown looked out from boundlessness. It lodged upon an edge of hourless time. There is time, but then it's hourless. There is no like hours to it. Gazing out of some everlasting now. Its shadows gleaming with the birth of gods, its bodies signaling the bodiless. So as if imagine that there are clouds up above in the sky, and things are kind of looking out from those clouds. Everyone has their own station, and they are signaling their own bodies, which may be marvelous. They are signaling the bodiless. So they are pointing at something which is ineffable, which is more than all of us. Something which is very high, but it is there. Something which is unapproachable and yet there. So its bodies signaling the bodiless. its foreheads glowing with the oversoul. So many a times we have devtas or goddesses or gods. We see a lot of tage on their face. Like their foreheads are beaming with that light of the divine. So its foreheads glowing with the oversoul, its forms projected from the unknowable, that which cannot be known by this limited mind, unknowable. But its forms are projected from the unknowable. So from that unknowable only the forms are coming, and they have a glimpse or a shine of that unknowable also there. Its eyes dreaming of the ineffable. Many a times we look at, say, Sri Aurobindo's eyes. There are specific few photos, where we look at Sri Aurobindo's eyes, and it seems like, where is it looking? What is it pointing to? Because there is something which is really ineffable in his eyes, if we look at it. Its eyes dreaming of the ineffable, its faces staring into eternity. So all these signals are giving us a clue that there is something more, and we have to walk towards that. We have to know that, maybe, or try to know, or come closer. Life in him, Ashwapati, life in him learned its huge subconscious rear. So he became available to all that subconscious, or that which is hidden from our sight. He became available to that. He now knew all those screened processes behind the curtain. Life in him learned its huge subconscious rear, the little fronts, unlocked. Like, ताला खोलते हैं, छोटा सा window होता है, ताला खोला, and then the moment you open it, like we have Alice in the Wonderland, she goes through something, some little something, and then you have a whole new world existing which was not known before. The little fronts unlocked to the unseen vasts. Her gulfs of this occult force, her gulfs stood nude. Now there are gulfs and then there are peaks, right? Both are there. There are things above us and there are things below us. Both of them were standing nude and bare in front of Ashwapati. Her gulfs stood nude, her far transcendences flamed in transparencies of crowded light. So things became clearer and crisper. All that which is not visible to the grosser senses and grosser interpretations of the mind, through his immense sadhana, Ashwapati is able to have a peek into all that mystic mystery behind the curtain. ये माजरा क्या चल रहा है? And we will see that later how he actually travels into these countries. So a journey of traveler of the world, the book of the traveler of the worlds that comes after this, where he enters into the godheads of little mind and then godheads of greater mind. All these will come because he is becoming more and more capable. One can say patrata is there so that he can enter these domains. Yeah, so any last comments, anyone?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Monica, I had a question. If you could just, I mean, it's not part of it, but can you tell what Mother said about rituals? Like when you perform rituals during a puja is there anything on that? Like
There
what did she
must
feel
be,
about
I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know if anyone has read something.
Read, yeah.
We'll have to find out actually.
Right.
Alokda, I think, shares some things in his talks at times about rituals.
Oh.
And he says that usually, what I again gather from Alokda is, he says that these rituals, when they were initially started, they all had meanings. They were coming from a deeper knowledge, these rituals. But then slowly we lost that knowledge behind, and only the outer crust was left, which is the ritual. Now we see that they are becoming meaningless for us. So if we go deeper into that, we can discover that actually there is a hidden meaning why they were there in the very place. And now he says that maybe the time for truth consciousness is coming. So I think at one place, I don't remember which was the talk, where he shares that these rituals actually they preserved the truth, and kind of for a long time maybe that was necessary, that there is an outer crust. Let's say होता है ना कि हम बबल रैप करते हैं किसी चीज को कि वो टूटे नहीं, है ना? तो जब हम रिचुअल में किसी चीज को फॉर्म कर देते हैं तो यू आर ट्राइंग टू प्रिजर्व समथिंग, but what is that something that you may actually forget after some time, but only the outer crust remains, which is the ritual. But now it is more and more the time where we have to discover what was the true purpose of those rituals, because we are not satisfied performing those rituals just for the sake of it. Yeah. So somewhere this is the essence I got from his talks, and I'm assuming that that must be a reflection of, say, what Mother also says of rituals, which I can't remember directly reading it from the Mother.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Nandini, I have read somewhere about rituals. So where the mother says, as long as it serves you, you can have the rituals, you can follow. But after, as Monica said, so after some time, it loses its meaning. So that time you can stop if you want. I've read, I will share with you. I will share in the group. I have read so many times because every year we perform this, all the pujas at home. So I see all these years I was also doing it mechanically, but from quite some time I started, why am I doing this? For Navratri, I used to arrange all the dolls and I will do puja. I will do all pujas. Even now I'm doing, but the way I'm doing is different now. See, a month back, we all did Varmahalakshmi. So in that Varmahalakshmi, what am I doing? So I was able to connect deeply with Varmahalakshmi better than how I was doing before. Actually, Monica shared a beautiful thing because, it's all, the way we do puja is, actually prana pradishta we do. So we bring prana to that deity. So after that, after doing the puja, the next day, we will take back the prana within us. So that will become only deity. That will become a face, Mahalakshmi face, that's all. So as if someone comes, if any Aditi comes home, what will we do? We will give milk. We will give whatever, coffee or snacks or whatever we have, we will do. It's like that only. But she is always there in us. We are not able to identify with her very often. We always forget. I'll share the link with you. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
I read it so many times.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think these rituals are like, as Charuji was sharing, that these are a way to remind ourselves, because we forget that everything actually has consciousness. And in India, we see, specifically in India, we will see that everything is पूजनीय, है ना? हर चीज की हम पूजा कर देते हैं, पत्थर की, पेड़ों की, है, तुलसी को माता बना दिया, गाय को माता बना दिया, हर चीज की हम पूजा कर लेते हैं. So that's a way of kind of showing, knowing or reminding ourselves that yes, everything has consciousness, and it is true that there is the divine sleeping even in a stone, a harmless stone, lying on the floor, which you may kick by your foot, but actually there is divine in there. And I think I remember Shraddhavan sharing in one of her these sessions only, where she says that someone asked Sri Aurobindo and Mother that I have a memory that we were like pebbles lying on a beach somewhere, and you and Mother were also there. I was a pebble That person says that I was a pebble, and mother and Sri Aurobindo were also pebbles. Is that true? And mother said that yes, it's true. So it's very amazing, like how we all have been stones, and look at how we usually treat stones. We hardly have any respect for stones. And then in tribal India, or not India, like Red Indians or these outside countries, we see that they also have lots of these shamans, or these people, they have a very beautiful way of, say, praying to the mother earth and massaging the mother earth, because she's taking the burden of all of us. So all of these are existing in like older traditions, but slowly I think with lots of consumerism and all these too much money and buying and everything, we kind of lost touch with all these deeper meanings, which again have to come. Like, there is no point that they will not come. They are coming back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so anything else, any last comment, anyone? Like mother also shared, how to treat objects and things.
Yeah.
There also she puts a lot of emphasis that the way you treat object and things actually reflects your level of consciousness also. So treat them nicely, because each one has life. All right, so okay, then maybe taking a last moment of silence, sharing, dedicating all the merit, all the goodness with innumerable sentient beings near and far, sharing this prasad of goodness with each one of us. May we all have wellness and true joy in our lives, and may suffering and the causes of suffering be taken away from each one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank